I thank the gentleman from Iowa for the time. Perhaps this will embarrass you, my colleague Steve King, but as I was flying into Nebraska last week, and I do this on occasion, I'm looking out of the window and looking at the rolling hills of the western edge of Iowa as it borders the Missouri River, and all of that beautiful terracing that has been done on all of that extraordinarily productive farmland in order to save the soil and increase yields. And I wonder how much of that Steve King did himself in a former life. So anyway, I'm grateful for not only the time, but most importantly, your friendship. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And the answer would be a fair amount.
Good. Mr. Speaker, as I was going through my mail last week, I read a publication that I receive frequently at my house from what's called the Great Plains Trails Network. This is a dedicated group of people who enjoy and promote and foster the growing network of hiking and biking trails in my hometown of Lincoln and the vicinity. They provide an extraordinary service to our community. And most notably, the trail systems provides an alternative means of transportation, physically linking our community in creative ways along creek beds and underpasses, through open plains and wooded areas, and besides wooden fences between residential neighborhoods. These trails also link us in a more profound way. They link us to the values of healthy exercise, neighborliness, and the beauty of nature, even in the setting of the urban city environment. Now, Mr. Speaker, I received an unusual media request recently. New York Magazine wished to speak to me. I took the meeting because I wanted to give a broader perspective on the issue of environmental stewardship, particularly in light of policy debate on energy and the environment. Since this topic can be so toxic, I thought it was important to reframe the issues with some prairie perspective, if you will. Perhaps, Mr. Speaker, it's time to spike this football and focus on solutions and activities that all of us can agree on, that all of us see are beneficial. Mr. Speaker, for the 21st century, we must harmonize environmental and economic security. And as a different public policy approach, I'm considering a new idea called the Zero Emissions Energy Credit, ZEEC, ZEEC. The more that we can do, I believe, the more we can do to stop waste and pollution through conservation and innovation gives us peace of mind in regards to the proper use of our resources. This ZEEC concept would reward reduced emissions through a tax credit system. And in this way, the government is not picking one technology over another or fighting over one regulation versus another, but positively valuing the diminishing externality cost of polluting emissions. Now, Mr. Speaker, environmental initiatives can also take many other forms. And I'm very proud to be recently named the co-chair of the International Conservation Caucus, called the ICC. It's one of the largest bipartisan caucuses in the Congress. The ICC works to ensure the sustainability of both persons and wildlife. It works to promote market innovation, as well as proper stewardship of our precious natural resources. As an example, not long ago in the African of Mozambique, in the midst of a civil war, the Gorongosa National Park was completely stripped of wildlife and devoid of people. A once lush microeconomic system, microecological system, now dead, primarily due to political disagreement. Interestingly, fascinatingly, extraordinarily, a mere 10 years later, thanks to the work of a major philanthropist, and a receptive government, a park system now teems with wildlife, with indigenous people reintegrated back into their homeland, who are engaged in now good and sustainable farming methodologies. They're engaged in park management as well as conservation. all creating an atmosphere in which the entire ecosystem once again thrives. Mr. Speaker, I don't know anyone in this body or anywhere else who wants dirty air or dirty water. However, as another example, if you live in Beijing, polluted air alone costs you 5.5 years off of your life. Parts of India are perhaps worse. By the way, the Chinese government was infuriated with the United States because we created at our embassy a pollution monitoring device and then publicly released that data to Chinese society. It had a major effect. And as one Chinese person once whispered to me, what's the point of all this economic development if it kills you? Without a soul strips us of the capacity to fully prosper. On the other hand, one of the prime contributors to environmental degradation is economic underdevelopment. Persons who have diminished economic options will use the resources at hand, sometimes merely to survive. The tragedy of the commons occurs when there are fractured social linkages, a lack of access to technology and information to feed and clothe and house in a more sustainable way. But, Mr. Speaker, I believe this. As new technologies emerge, we may see exciting opportunities to build our own sustainably sourced microenergy economy, one that harmonizes with the environment and creates new economic opportunities and linkages. This doesn't mean we all live on game preserves, but through proper public policy and innovation, we may be on the trail to environmental, economic, and community security, and perhaps creating a new type of Great Plains energy network.